Hey guys, it's Aaron Tony here and welcome to my YouTube channel. Happy Friday. I hope that you had a wonderful week and I am sure that a lot of you are looking forward to the weekend. I am looking forward to the weekend, although I don't have anything planned out, anything special, but I am looking forward to the weekend because I get to relax and I get to catch up with just little things here and there in the house. So once again, welcome back to my channel. First, I would love to just take my time to thank everyone that has subscribed to my channel and left a comment. I have to say, a lot of people left really encouraging comments and I really appreciate it. I am so humble and I am really flattered that you took your time to watch my video and leave a comment, and I really appreciate it. It really means a lot. All right, so today's video will be about a question that was asked on my very first video, and so I feel like for you to understand where I am coming from, I have to give you a little story time. All right, so just to get in the mood, I actually wore my scrubs. I have not worn my scrubs in like 3.5 years. So I said, let me just wear for this. Here is the question by Annette. Thank you so much for asking this question, Annette. I really appreciate it. I think that this is an amazing question. You're actually the very first person that has asked me this question, and so I'm really glad to answer it. So the question is, Tony, just wondering, how is it being a nurse in the hospitals with COVID? And are you afraid to bring it at home to your family? So that is the question. So to give you a quick answer, yes, I am terrified to bring COVID in my home. But so I'm just gonna go back 3.5 years ago, okay? So 3.5 years ago, I actually used to work in a hospital. I work in a surgical unit and I really enjoyed it. But then I had to give it up just because I had 2 kids and I just felt like bedside nursing, it just wasn't working out for me just because of the hours. I had to work 12-hour shifts, day shifts, and overnight shifts. So I found it a little bit difficult to balance. And so I had to go ahead and give that up and start and then try something different. Okay. So going back 2 years ago, I decided to join community nursing. So I started community nursing, let's say around, I want to say around November of 2019. Sorry, yes, 2019. I started community nursing and I was really enjoying it. And this is right before COVID, okay? It was nice and all. I really loved the flexibility. So around December, it was the first time that I actually paid attention to COVID. We officially had cases in Canada, and in my head, I'm thinking, okay, COVID. And for some reason, I just kind of related to SARS. If you guys can remember SARS from years ago, we had SARS, but we were able to contain it. And that's exactly what I thought we will be able to do with the coronavirus. Unfortunately, we know that people die from SARS, nurses, and it was a really just, I don't even want to get into that, but so that was my whole idea of the virus at first. Around December time, we still didn't really know what was going on. We're still trying to identify what is it that we're actually really dealing with. We're not so panicky yet, but we were kind of getting there, right? But let me tell you, I remember that I had the worst flu ever, okay? I don't know, until today, I don't know if it was the virus. I don't know if it was just a flu. I had never in my life had a flu that bad. So I went to work in the community, and this one specific day, I just could not handle myself. I didn't have any runny nose or anything, but I had body aches. I didn't have a fever, but I vomited. I felt super tired, but then that happened for only one day. And then on the following day, I was back to work. I was fine. And then that was it. At that time, of course, you go see your patient without any PPE. Okay. So PPE are personal protective equipment. So things that nurses will normally wear to protect themselves and protect the patients from different types of diseases. So that was that. And January comes, February comes, and I want to say around February, March, that's when the virus really started to kick our butts. Everyone was panicking. We're all panicking, and it's just like, oh boy. Around March, okay, I had two incidents. I worked in the community, and yes, we were given full PPE, so masks, gown, and gloves, and hairnet, and face shield. Okay, so we were given all of that for us to be able to see our patients, right? So one day I went to see a client of mine, and it was a quick visit. I had on my mask, I had on my gloves, but then because I just thought that yes, I was gonna go in and just do something quick, it wasn't gonna take that long. So I went in and I did what I had to do. I was done. I went home. On the following day, my supervisor calls me and then she tells me, "Oh, Tony, yeah, you have been exposed to somebody that tested positive for the virus." And I am there like I am freaking out. I was freaking out, okay? To the point that I could not contain myself. I cried because I was terrified. So public health called me then to let me know that I was exposed to somebody that tested positive for the virus. And so they asked me to stay home. But then after a day, I spoke with somebody else through public health, and then they told me that based on what I told them that I didn't have to quarantine. I'm like, okay, great. So I went back to work and I went to see another patient. Now with this patient, it was a different story because I felt like I had already learned from my first experience. I went to see this patient in full PPE, and then I was done doing what I had to do. I went home, and on the following day, I had the same phone call again. You have been exposed to somebody that tested positive for the coronavirus. So once again, I'm like, what is going on? I just keep getting exposed and exposed. They told me that I didn't have to stay home because I had full PPE. But at that time, I just felt like, you know what, this is too much. Let me just stay home. I stayed home for about 10 days at that time. And I just felt like I needed to contain myself. All right. And so at that time, I really tried my best to stay away from my family anyway, because it's like, you never know, right? So I had on my mask, and my kids, I mean, they're small, they really didn't understand what was going on. And so I try my best to explain to, especially my son who's 7 now. At that time he was 5. And yeah, I tried to explain it to him. This is a situation, mommy needs to stay away from you guys. So I was there and I did as much as I could. I stayed away from them as much as I could. I mean, I still had to cook and I still had to do whatever I had to do in my home, right? I felt like I just wasn't really doing much for my family in terms of protecting them. So I went to Walmart. I got a whole bunch of Lysol wipes. I got a whole bunch of hand sanitizer. So I went home, I disinfected my house like crazy, and of course, washed my hands, and I became really paranoid from there, right? So that was that. Around the same time, I needed to make some extra cash. So I went on and applied with a community agency. So that agency would send me to nursing homes and as well as hospitals. So I started working in the hospital. I would most of the time pick up night shifts because it was just more convenient for me. And that was before that whole thing, you cannot work in two places at once. I wasn't doing that, so that was right before. So I picked up some shifts in the hospital, and let me tell you, it was terrifying. It was terrifying. I had to wear, of course, nurses had to wear their full PPE. I literally wrapped my hair up. I wore my booties. I had my mask. I had my gloves. I had my gown. And I had my face shield. And I really tried to not have my skin exposed to my patients, like at all. Okay. And I mean, I will go in, and of course, you have to, as a nurse, you have to provide the best care possible. So I did that, but at the same time, you're anxious, you're nervous that maybe all of the protection that you had, it wasn't sufficient. So you kind of get scared, right? So at the end of my shift, the hospitals do have lockers room, they have shower rooms, you can always go and shower. But what I actually did to, just prevent me from carrying this virus home was I would have my street clothes with me, well, separate in a bag, and I would change my clothes. I will remove everything that I would wear in the hospital, my shoes, my scrubs, my hair tie. I would wrap it up in a bag, and then I will go home in my street clothes. So as soon as I would get home, I would put my scrubs and my hair tie straight in the washer, and I would jump straight in the washroom, and then my kids would try to come to me and hug me. I'll be like, no, 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 stay away, back away, back away. So it was tough, but they eventually came to understand that they could not come close to me. So I would go ahead and, have my shower, and yeah, so that was my experience in the hospital. And I believe I probably only picked up maybe 5 or 6 shifts in the community hospital and nursing home. I didn't really work so much because then once again, we couldn't do the two, work in two places at once, right? Just for safety reasons, and cross-contamination as well, right? So that was that. My son, he's my first child, he's 7. At that time, he's a really clever boy, so I took my time to explain to him what was going on, right? That there's a bug that's going on, and it's very contagious. We have to protect ourselves. From now on, you have to keep on your mask at all times. I really had to talk to him to the point that it literally scared him, but that was the only way to make sense to him. And then when he came to school, I had to explain it to him that, hey, son, you can go back to school right now because of the virus. And he came to understand. And so he stayed home until, just September from last year until September that he started school physically, right? But throughout, I do want to mention that throughout the whole pandemic from the beginning, one thing that I did though, apart from trying to keep my home clean and stuff like that, I really also had to find ways of further protecting my family members, right? So one thing that I did was I spent a lot of money on immune boosting supplements. I spent a lot of money on vitamin C, and I still take those supplements as long as I can remember it. I go ahead and take my supplements, but especially vitamin C. So as of last year, I actually started public health. And so with my job now, I actually work from home, which is amazing. I get to spend time with my family, and I still encourage all of those precautions you have to, guys. Hand washing, social distancing, wearing a mask and stuff like that. My son, he completely understands, and he's only 7. He understands it, and I just still feel like a lot of people take it for granted. A lot of people are still having large gatherings, which is not advisable at all, right? But we've made it through so far. No COVID. I haven't had COVID. My husband, my kids have not had COVID. Fingers crossed. All right, guys. So that is pretty much it for today. And I hope you guys enjoy the video. And please, please leave a comment, give a like to the video if you enjoyed it. I will be posting again next Friday, but a question that I really want to ask you is, how are you guys living with the pandemic? How have you guys been dealing with it, especially mentally? For myself, I have to say that it has been a bit challenging, with the whole change. This is a new norm now, and this is probably a topic that I should talk about on my next video. Have a wonderful weekend, and please do stay safe out there. Bye for now. See you next week.